Hello, I'm Markee Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and welcome to another episode of the EVE Online 30-Day Challenge. The challenge being to see if I can really get integrated into the game within 30 days and learn as much as I can. Now, you notice I'm wearing headphones. Do you want to know why I'm wearing headphones? It's not because I'm listening to other people on TeamSpeak or anything like that. It's really to just keep all this stuff in my head. You know, Ink has been helping me out a lot, and I understand that he keeps all of his stuff in his head by wearing his tinfoil hat. And maybe that's so the electrons don't escape. Is that right, Ink? Tinfoil hat keeps all that data from escaping your head?
No, it keeps from all the useless data flowing in.
Oh, it provides clarity.
And it's a showstopper. Walks into the room, everyone just like...
Yeah, oh my god, Ink's here.
Deal with it.
Deal with it. So, I figured that the start of this show should really be, we got to go spend some money. So, and what better place than at Summer Blink here? We got quite a few things to bid on here today. So, have any of you been... Ooh, let's bid on this. Okay, I got my ticket for Jaguar. Have any of you been here during their celebrations? What other kind of stuff happens at the celebrations?
Lots of laser shows.
Laser shows?
Which celebrations are you talking about?
The celebration here at Summer Blink. They have a notice up here. Holy smokes! Already almost 3/4 quadrillion ISK in prizes. Will you be here for the 750 trillion party? Bonks and mini bonks will resume at the beginning of the 750 trillion party. What are bonks? Does anybody know?
If you look on the link there, they talk about it on. I was just looking at the page the other day. Somewhere they tell you about, like, frequently asked questions or something.
Mm-hmm. Here's how to play.
Yeah, I think it was there.
Over here playing Blink, press button. What the hell?
I think for the mini bonks you can use your tokens, and for the bonks you can cash in with the ISK. And then those are special items you can win, like blueprints or blueprint copies from manufacturing.
They just have so many ways for us to spend our ISK here. Promo Blink report. So these are all the promo stuff. Look at how many things are just today. Oh my god, almost the entire page is stuff today. The amount of stuff they have going through their hands is just amazing. Absolutely.
Zero stuff in my hands.
Zero stuff in your hands? Are you, is that a complaint?
No, I'm just mad at random number generator.
Hey, you know, I noticed something here. The 30-day pilot's license is now cheaper to bid on than it was before. And
yeah, it used to be 40-something million.
Yeah, 41 million. And I wonder if the market has dropped on the Plex, and so they just changed their calculation.
Well, if you look about it, usually towards the end of the month the Plex get more expensive, because that's where most people's accounts are running out, so they need the Plex. People they get more expensive. Now we are going towards middle of the month, so it gets cheaper.
Interesting. Interesting indeed. Okay. Well, let's see here. Prophecy Cyclone. I don't even know what a cyclone is, but it looks interesting. Let's see if I can get that blink. Somebody else got that one. Okay. Of course, that's the only complaint I have about this, is it all goes so fast.
That's why you make your own blink, so you never miss.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, the problem is I don't know what I want. I just look at these pictures and go, ooh, neato. I want that. I want to try that. and I just start, clicking on stuff.
They also have pictures when making your own blink.
Yeah, but it's all these categories, and I don't even necessarily know where I'm looking and everything. There, I got
Just
myself.
click random. You can buy any ticket.
Well, yeah, but the thing that I can't find is what I want to do. Like I've looked for the hook bill several times, but never.
It's in frigates.
Okay, well, I've always had trouble finding it. So. Okay, well, I'm not having much luck here. I'm not winning much. But
I think the list is sorted by alphabet.
There's another Plex up here. Interesting. I just this website just really kind of amazes me. Now, a hurricane. What is a hurricane? I have one of these.
It's a Minmatar battle cruiser.
Battle cruiser. Okay. So I still have a little ways to go before I can fly one of those, but I have one. Someone gifted it to me. Tornado. It's interesting looking.
I have one of those.
Tier 3 battle cruiser. Okay. See, and something else I've kind of noticed from the site here is that I'm seeing so many different items and ships and everything that I'm actually kind of learning more about the game as I look through this stuff here. So. Of course, someone already bought the ticket. There, I got a ticket. I won! Woohoo! I won a Crusader.
I battle cruiser too.
That's cool. So, I either take the Crusader or 10.8 million ISK cash out. Yes, winner, winner. So,
Maybe notice the backgrounds give you the visual cue of what their race is.
looks like one of the war decks just dropped. If I read that message right that just popped up. So you say these give backgrounds on the races? What do you mean?
Now the background pictures give you the visual cue of what the race is.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. So I've been sticking with the stuff that's red.
I call it pink cotton candy, Minmatar. Depressing blue Caldari.
Okay. Well.
Organic green Galente.
Just amazing. I can't imagine. They must have a whole army of people working behind the scenes. I don't know how they manage all of that. It's impressive to me. Okay, well, I guess I'll cash out my my thing here. And let's see, it's a little Crusader. And I think I'm just going to take the ISK on that one. Blink creditor, ISK. No, I shall take the money back out. It's a trap when you just put it back in again. Okay, so I got my win for today. Saber. Maybe I shall have another. There's only one ticket left. Nobody. Oh, there they go. Root Canals won it. Okay, well, that was fun. So, got myself a win. Okay. Should have raffled the ship for us poor folks. That's what BIG says in chat. Well. Okay, so let's see here. IT Paladin. Palag, you here?
Yep.
I mentioned before about data centers, and do you? You mentioned you know a little bit about data centers.
Well, I know of them, and I know the usual guides you can look at. They're basically, you have these agents in space, and you can only do the mission from them once, and you get these pirate tags that the NPCs drop, and you turn those in, and you get percentage points on faction standings. They're a good way to increase your faction standing if you have it lower for that faction.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And as usual, I point you to the wiki.eveuniversity.org/gaming_faction_standings_fast.
I see. Eve University. Okay.
There's a really small section on that page for data centers. It's basically just one-time mission to get standings.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
there is a link on there that is bad. It goes to a 404. There's also the main Eve Alopedia wiki that has a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see here. I see I got paid by Blink already. It's already in here. Pretty amazing. So I'm over $1 billion ISK again because I got my payout from that ship I sold, and I got some sort of deposit refunded for completion of a contract. Apparently I had placed some sort of deposit.
So that would answer your future question when you're doing missions. What do I do with these tags? Like if you're doing a faction mission where you're shooting the other faction ships, which is not always a good idea to do constantly because you'll be losing faction with that other faction. Like if you're in a Galenti mission and you're shooting Caldari Navy ships, they'll drop the Caldari like a midshipman tag or something, and you would turn those into the appropriate. Oh, there goes my phone. The appropriate Navy LP store.
Okay. So, moving on here. Let me see here. Let's see. Evilist Overlord, are you here?
Sure enough.
Okay. You sound a little bit light on the volume there.
Is that better?
Oh yeah, that's a lot better. So you mentioned in Twitch chat last episode that you knew a bit about blueprints.
Yes, about 22 million skill points worth.
Okay. And so somebody sent me some blueprints. First off, what are blueprints?
Blueprints are the basis of building everything in the game.
You need to. Can you get that mic fixed for yourself? I don't. Let's see here.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better again.
Sorry about that.
So.
Blueprints are the basis for building everything in the game.
Okay.
If there's a blueprint for it or a blueprint copy, which is a secondary process, and you have the skills, if you click on the little skills tab on the blueprint, it'll show you what skills you need.
Okay.
There's a little arrow for skills. Right? No. Bill of materials, skills. Bill of materials.
Okay, skills. Industry level 1.
That is what you need in combination with all those minerals to build that item yourself. Now you see there's two different measures there. There's U and perfect. If you have perfect skills, you can see the difference between what your skill level is and what perfect skill levels are. Does that make sense?
And a perfect skill would be really just having the highest level of skills in like industry level or something like that?
Industry 5 and I think
Production efficiency.
Production efficiency 5 will max that out.
Okay.
And hello.
Hi, Brian. Now, does it require one blueprint to make one item, or can you make an item over and over and over again off one blueprint?
Okay, go to attributes.
Okay.
Which is the other tab.
Mm-hmm.
And you will see in the attributes, you'll see a bunch of different things. Let's see, the fourth one down is licensed production runs remaining. If you are dealing with a blueprint original, it'll say infinite. If you're dealing with a blueprint copy, which is a copy of an original, it'll say a limited number. In this case, you have 1,500 runs. So you can make 1,500 runs of this. Okay. And each run, if you look at the top where it says produces cat booster 800, you'll see a little parentheses 10 next to it. That means you're going to build 10 units for all the materials that you're using on the bill of materials. When you put all those materials in, you'll get 10 units of that cat booster.
And so
for each run.
On average here, I see this bill of materials here that's needed and stuff, and then how much it's going to make. So let's I don't know, how much money am I going to have to spend, and how much am I going to earn? I know that might be just a way open question, but
that goes back into a lot of different factors. To keep it simple, you always take and look at how much. I always take and look at how much it would cost me to buy the materials on the market and compare it to how much the selling price for the individual items are.
Right. Add all those up, if
you're going to buy all the materials and just make the item and sell it, if you're selling in a region that doesn't have very many competitors, you can make a lot of money. If you're selling in items that's truly unique, like a Tech 2 or a Tech 3 item, you equally have a chance to make a lot of money. But for the most part, unless you have perfect skills and you have a blueprint that has been researched, which is a whole different level of complication to this that I think you should skip for now. It's mostly a matter of how you're getting your materials. If you're mining like ink and you're just gathering minerals, most of the minerals on this blueprint are common minerals. The Mexilon, the pyrite, the tritanium are all very common. And if you go to certain areas of space, you can get the Noxium in high space or high sec without any issues. Megasite and Zydrine, most people get theirs in high sec from recycling items, which is a whole separate skill set in the science and industry tab. but most people that just want to build the stuff or need to build the stuff just buy the materials on the open market.
Right. It probably makes sense that you'd buy them in regions where they're cheaper and maybe transfer them over, especially if you're buying in high quantity.
Yes, there's a lot of people that do interregional trading in the game, me being one of them. I've got alts in all 4 of the trade hubs, so I know what market prices are at all times.
So, would you say you make a good living doing this?
I couldn't get on earlier because somebody tried to gank me coming out of a station with 40 billion ISK in my cargo hold.
40 billion ISK in your cargo hold.
Tech 3 subsystems. I was taking them to market.
I see. And did that cause you to have a coronary?
No, because they only had 1 warp scrambler, and I managed to get away without them even touching my... I was running in a transport ship, so I had extra warp stabilizers on there and initial stabilizers, so I got away, but they got through. They ate my shields pretty well, and on a ship that size, it's really hard to do.
Interesting. So you also have a big transport ship then, huh?
Actually, the transport ship is relatively small. The stuff I'm carrying, or was carrying, I got it to market, is items that run about 40 to 60 million ISK a unit. So it's real easy to carry that much in a smaller ship. I mean, a transport ship is a Tech 2 hauling ship, industrial ship. The one I was flying was it had additional warp stabilization capabilities and an extremely tough hull, which is why I managed to get away.
Okay. So, just thinking here, what, I don't know, maybe I don't, tell me what the answer is to the question I don't know what to ask.
Okay, if you're going to be making a passive income in this game, building stuff is an excellent way to do it.
Okay.
I always recommend to newbies that they start with something simple like ammunition, because you get ammunition blueprints really cheaply. You can buy them on the market really cheaply, and you can produce something that is disposable for all intents and purposes. Everybody needs ammunition.
Yes.
And it's a matter of hitting all the trade hubs and placing ammunition sales where you think people will need it, and being competitive or not being competitive. I always recommend you fill up spaces that have mission hubs that don't have any ammo in them, because if you're in a region and everybody is selling in, let's say, Aaron, because it's a huge mission hub, and nobody's selling 2 jumps away, if you take and price your item a little bit higher in these secondary missioning areas, most missionaries don't want to travel 2 to 3 jumps to get their ammunition. They'll just spend the extra ISK right there. So it's a good way to make a good profit on what you're selling. Now you get into places like Dodixie and Jita and Rennes or Amar, you're going to have a lot of competition, and the margin on each item is much, much lower, but you're guaranteed to sell.
Right.
So, there's a give and take with that. I try to tell people to keep it simple. Start with things you're not going to lose your shirt on, or you can sit on for a while. I'm currently at the point with my main production character where all I produce is Tech 3 items, which you need 6 months worth of skill training just to even be able to touch. You can't even do that without 6 months of straight training.
Okay.
Well, you could, but efficiency.
That's all you do.
Okay, so this person sent me a bunch of blueprints. I looked up this one, like this Cap Booster 800. It's worth 10 million ISK.
Is it a copy and an original?
Now,
it's a copy.
That's what you have is that is not worth 10 million ISK. That is a blueprint copy.
Okay.
That means once all those production runs are used, it disappears.
Right.
What you're looking at in the market is a blueprint original.
Well, and that's 10. That's 10 million. Yeah, okay.
And on top of that, you're looking in the wrong region for it. Somebody brought that from a different region where it's substantially cheaper and is selling that blueprint on the open market for 10 million ISK.
I see.
If you go to, I forget where they're located out of, I don't deal with cat boosters very often, but you're probably looking at a blueprint that is under 1 million ISK or around 1 million ISK in reality for actual pricing.
Okay. So that's just somebody playing on people's inexperience.
Correct.
Like
and that
my own.
happens a lot in this game. If you take and look at the expires in number on the right hand side of that, it'll say 3 days and 23 hours.
Right.
What you are looking for to know the actual price of an NPC blueprint is 364 days, because that is the only entity in the game that can produce a 364-day expires in tag.
Okay.
That is the actual price. So when you find one of those, you're looking at the actual NPC price. Now, that price does vary a little bit depending on how many people buy that item, but it's not very much.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I have kinetic plating blueprint.
That is a blueprint original. Go to the attributes.
Oh, it is. How do you know just by looking at it that it's an original?
A coloration difference. There's a coloration difference. Just take and go to the attributes tab on that.
Yep, and infinite. There you go. Okay. And then max
Now,
runs
you're
per
going to
blueprint
see-
copy.
Yes. Now, a blueprint original allows you to do several things. First, you can do, if you have access to a POS or a station slot, you can do material research. This decreases the amount of waste that this blueprint has. In other words, it makes your profitability much better.
Okay.
Because every blueprint comes with a 0 material level, 0 productivity level. What that means is this is a basic blueprint. There's nothing special about it, and there will be a certain amount of waste built in, regardless of your skills. If you research material level on it, you decrease that wastage. The most blueprints can be researched to 0 waste factor. Most people don't take it beyond 0.1% because it's kind of a diminishing returns thing. You might get, a minuscule amount of difference in your materials usage. Productivity level simply allows you to produce that item faster. So if you look down on the manufacturing area below where it says manufacturing time, it says 10 minutes.
Okay.
Manufacturing time U is 10 minutes. Your skills do improve manufacturing time some. However, productivity level will increase it even more.
Okay.
And when you're dealing with, 1 or 2 runs at a time, it's not a big deal. It is not important. If you're dealing with 1,000 runs of an item, even something like the cat booster, that means hours or days difference in how long it takes. Now, the other thing you can do with Blueprint Originals is you can copy them. So whatever stats that blueprint has, you can transfer to the blueprint copy. So if I were to research this to material level 100, which would get my wastage factor down to like under 1%, that stat would transfer to any copies that I make. This makes the copy more valuable to other players. So this is a level of the game that's probably a little bit beyond where you're at currently. I mean, I could talk about this for an hour.
No, but I find it very interesting.
It's when you're dealing with production and invention and reverse engineering, which is all the different research fields in this game, you can vastly improve an item. You can vastly improve the productivity of an item and the profitability of an item, but the level of skills that is required is both dull and extensive. Let me show you an example of the difference between what you're dealing with here and the level of item that I'm dealing with.
Okay.
Go to your market, and then go to blueprints.
Okay.
You'll reach a point, it'll bring down the drop tab and go to manufacturing and research.
Okay.
Then components.
Okay.
Then advanced capital ship parts.
Okay.
Go to Minmatar and click on capital deflection array or shield emitter.
Okay.
Now open that up in a new tab so you can set it side by side.
Oh, let's see. How do you do that?
This is just what's on the market.
Okay.
Now go to bill of materials.
Mm-hmm.
See all those skills you need to build that item?
Yes.
Now the other thing you get into is when you get into Tech 2, you start using items that are from moon mining. These are not common. You have to buy them on the market unless you're part of a big alliance. You get into these higher items, your price is completely determined by what's the quality of the blueprint you're using and the price you can get on the open market. But you see how there's like not just industry 5, but you need science 5, engineering 5,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get into individual skills like science skills like hydromatic physics. These are like 10 million-ish skills a pop when you get into that level of science. But you can now build something in the game that only a few people compared to the general populace can build.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just a whole different level of challenge of gathering the materials and putting it together. And what this is used for is building capital ships. Building advanced capital ships, which is Tech 2 ships like jump freighters.
Okay.
So there's a whole level of specialization in this game that you can get into that is just insane. And it keeps getting more complex. And a lot of us who are now at the point where we've built everything in the game. I mean, the only thing I can't build in this game is certain storyline items because I don't have certain skills up to level 4, and I can't build a Titan. That's the only thing I can't build in this game.
Okay. And why is that? You just haven't researched that yet?
I have not taken capital construction to level 5, which is a 56-day train time for me.
Okay.
It's like a times 12 or times 16 skill. So unless you're going to build a Titan, there's no point in taking it to that level.
Right. Because there's nothing after that that you're being prevented from building that you might want to do.
Well,
It's not a stepping stone.
In order to build a Titan, you need to have sovereign space under your belt, and it has to be upgraded to the point where you can build capital ships, super capital ships. I mean, there's a whole level. You have to be in an alliance. You have to be in a nullsec alliance to build a Titan. That's just how it is. And if you don't have a need to build it, why bother with 56 days of train time, you know? I put a year of my mains game training, my mains skill training into being able to build Tech 3 vessels and pretty much everything else on the market. And, you know, I can build all that stuff in HiSec. One way or another, I can build it in HiSec. So, you know, unless somebody invites me to a major alliance and says, hey, we heard that you can take and build capital ships or super capital ships, come build for us, there's no point in me training that, you know?
Anybody who does that should be shot, though. Unless they know you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're talking about, if you're talking real life, what is it? A Titan's, what, $3,700 in real life cash, just in materials, and if you break it down, something like that. I mean, it's a huge huge trust level to have that sort of thing in the game. Now, I have heard of people getting invited to alliances, putting the product in to build, and then getting kicked out of the alliance because they didn't trust them. You know, strip their roles and send them away. All of a sudden, the alliance has a nice Titan being built. Because the Titan, when you're kicked out of alliance, it doesn't change your jobs in queue at a POS or a station. It just keeps running. Until it's done. And anybody who's a director or a CEO can deliver that job.
Okay.
But back to blueprints. If you click on the bill of materials for the kinetic plating that you were looking at.
Do which again?
The kinetic plating blueprint that you had. The other one.
Okay. I'm here. What do you
Bill
want
of materials.
Bill of materials, okay.
Now, you see how some of them are just perfect as is? Like, that means that that material level cannot be improved anymore with skills at all. You really can't get below one unit of anything in this game.
Okay.
You'll also notice there's an extra materials tab. That was recently added when they started revamping the ships. Because on older blueprints, especially blueprint copies, there would be, when you change the ship, it would change the materials cost. So instead of leaving blueprint copies floating around on a different level of materials, they changed them all uniformly and added that in there. You will probably never see that in use in the game unless it's a older blueprint copy from before a patch.
Okay.
Now,
this looks really interesting. I can tell you that Lisa, my wife, she was talking about manufacturing things, and that maybe she thought that she wanted to do something like this. But what she told me was, I was like, okay, well, good thing it's just a game. She says she wants to manufacture drugs.
yes, you can do that.
And, here I am thinking about the show Weeds or something like that.
Actually, if you are in low-sec or null-sec, manufacturing drugs is very easy to do if you're willing to work different sites. They're gas sites, and you actually have to go and hack containers in those sites while you're being shot at in order to get the blueprints and stuff to do it. Also, you have to mine the gas, and a lot of players in nullsec do use boosters, which is what she's talking about, manufacturing drugs in this game. And those boosters dramatically change your stats in combat. I mean, if you have the highest level of booster that if you're smoking the best stuff, I guarantee you it will affect how well you perform in combat. Now, you might not feel good for the next couple days, but
Yeah.
it's a huge industry because very few people do it. So
Yeah, well, that's what she was talking about doing. She wanted to manufacture drugs. I'm like, okay. Live on the dangerous side. So, yeah, it's this is all very interesting. I think that it's probably not an area that I would get into. Just because I probably would be a buyer and reseller of end product. Let somebody else do the manufacturing, and I would probably just make some sort of deal with them for, guaranteed that I would buy, and they just send them to me in contracts or whatnot at a discount, but I, make it easy for them. Something like that. So.
Hey, in this game, you can make any deals you want. They might not sound like on the up and up, but if you go to JITA and look under contracts, you're going to find a lot of scams. And if it seems too good to be true, it is.
Yeah. I've been.
Now, if you're talking about interregional transport, which is something you were interested in an earlier episode, you really need to have alts in different regions to do that effectively. But every once in a while, if you're going through an area of space, I mean, it's kind of hard for you under War Deck, but if you're traveling through an area of space and you see a deal, you just buy it and come back for it later and transfer it. Because every once in a while, somebody puts out an order that's really stupidly low, and you just buy it up. Oh, you buy it up so fast. Now, I would recommend you find certain things that you only buy. For instance, I pretty much controlled the Warp Core Scanner Probe market for about 6 months in Sing Liaison and Essence, where you're at, because there was such a price difference that I could manipulate the market. You'll find, especially in the area of space you are, there's like 2 or 3 regions locally available to you. Bopping into those other regions is relatively simple, and it's real easy to get an accurate price on an item.
I already told you about the Eve Central. Some people use that. Just use it wisely and carefully.
Yeah, the only problem I found with Eve Central is how fast they update. Usually the really good buys are gone before they're updated.
Yeah, I could see that being an issue.
It is a good place to get average pricing, though. If you want a high and a low and what it's on average going for, that is an awesome place to have. Because if you're in an area of space where you, for instance, that one blueprint that was worth 10 million ISK, you wouldn't know the average price if you just thought that was, the price. That was a player price. That wasn't an NPC price.
There is a thing on Eve Central that you can use. It's like a trade tool. You can see go there, and you can set your region. It'll show where you like the best available thing to transport or to make money. But you gotta be careful because there is I call it a bug, but they've decided to make it a feature where it's the only way in the game to scam someone out of their money without even knowing who they are. Every other consequence in the game, you know who they are. But there's a way for using market skills to post something, and you don't have the money to cover when they go and buy it, and you get all the money, and you get nothing in return. I hate that. It's still, I consider it a bug, but they've left it in as a feature.
One other thing, when you're buying or selling to people in different regions, the one thing you always want to make sure of is if there's a buy order out for something, the minimum quantity to sell to them. Because what'll happen is they'll take and put an outrageous buy price out, but they'll put out an insane quantity. Normally it defaults to minimum unit sold is 1. For instance, I've seen orders of very simple items where they'll have a buy order out for, let's say, 10,000 of an item at a price that's way above market average. But if you go over to the minimum units sold, it'll say 10,000 items. So it will automatically, your market sales tab will default to the next lowest if you don't meet that minimum. So they'll put a price, let's say, at 15 million ISK for an item, and they want 10,000 of them. And then there'll be an order just below it for 1.5 million ISK for each one of the items. So they'll be buying it at 1.5 million instead of 15 million because there isn't that many items in the market. 10,000 items in the market is not, available. So it's a scam to using market glitches. The way the market operates. So you got to be very careful about interregional buying and selling to pay attention to what the buy orders actually say.
Sounds kind of like real life.
Yes.
I sold I sold a company one time, and And while I thought that I was getting $40,000 and there was $180,000 debt on the company, and they were going to take all the debt and they were going to pay me $40,000, and I was going to walk away. When they tricked me on the contract, I wasn't paying attention. This was pre my knowledge of that I should always have a lawyer look over a contract. I signed it, and I got a check a couple of weeks later for $386, and I kept all the debt. So,
Wow.
Yeah, I sold my company for
God.
$386, and
Whoa.
it was a company that was doing sales of over $100,000 a month, and yeah, it was pretty insane. So I kind of kicked myself on that one, but that's how you learn sometimes too. So
That's also one of the reasons I recommend when people are getting into manufacturing that in interregional trading, they start with the small items, because if you make a mistake, it's not going to be a big deal. You can recover from it. Just last month, I made a mistake in my buy order, and I added an extra 2 digits, and it was a billion ISK mistake.
oh,
But if you had come to me a year and a half ago and said, and if I had made that mistake a year and a half ago, I would have been completely blown away by what I did, and it would have ruined me for the next couple months. But at this point in the game, now that I'm building these really big ticket items that everybody wants, a billion ISK mistake was, oh well,
right.
And within 2 days, I had recovered that money. I wasn't too happy about it, but the higher levels of the game, the key to making really big money in manufacturing is to find something specialized, a niche market, and exploiting it, just like in real life. Tech 3 vessels and subsystems. There are entire alliances that produce them and bring them out and put them on the market, but if you're paying attention to the market, you can make a good profit margin on each item. And my main and a couple of my alts had spent some time in wormhole space, and I have a lot of materials left over from that I transported out of the wormhole. So I'm still running through all those materials. And so at this point, it's my previous efforts being, compounded here. Any other questions?
Well, so you recommend people start with ammunition,
Yes,
or some sort of little low-end consumable.
Yes.
And then when they graduate up from that, what would be next? Like medium ammunition or something like that? Still stay in consumables?
After you get a basic understanding of how the market functions in the different regions for that particular item, start looking around for maybe rigs, which uses a different type of material. It uses, how you were salvaging wrecks the past week or so?
Yes.
Those materials get used in the production of rigs, which is a permanent feature of the ships you attach. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not yet.
A little bit.
There are NPC blueprints on the market for Tech 1 rigs, and you can use those materials in building the rigs. And the materials, the level of skill to build rigs is not that much higher than building ammunition. Most Tech 1 stuff requires industry level 1. You get into industry level 5 for some of the bigger ticket items like ships and frigates and stuff. When you get into shipbuilding, sometimes you need that level of ship construction skill, which isn't that expensive and very easy to train up. When you get into Tech 2 items, you have to have science skills, and those are 10 million ISK a pop, and they got to be trained up usually to level 3 or level 4. So it builds on itself. If you're an industrial character, you're mining, you're gathering salvage, and you're transporting stuff. If you're a combat character, you're making lots of wrecks and stealing stuff. It's a specialization. It really is. And when you get into things like constructing frigates, I recommend rigs or higher level items like cap booster, or not cap boosters, but cap rechargers. I made a lot of ISK building Tech 1 code breakers and analyzers, which are for exploration sites. There's a lot of different items that people use on a daily basis, like gyro stabilizers and stuff like that. Well, somebody's got to build them. And every once in a while, the market, people will stop building them because there's too many people in the market, and then there's not enough items on the market. Somebody comes in and buys a bunch of them.
Let me
so
ask.
The market fluctuates.
All of these items, ships and their components and everything, these are all player manufactured, correct?
Correct.
There's no sales of these, done by NPCs or anything?
There are fewer and fewer items in the game that are done by NPCs. CCP's stated goal is to make everything in the game player produced.
Which is great.
So, as time has gone on, different items have been, they've put out blueprints for different items. Like, for instance, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the different types of containers. There's one in particular called a giant secure container. It's a container that you can anchor in 0.7 or below space, and you can password protect it. So you can put it someplace, and a lot of noob players will mine into those containers, and then a transport character will access it and take the product back. It's an easy way to mine, an easy way to can mine. Also, sometimes people will store their items in it. Like, if you're in a wormhole, you'll have a safe spot with a giant secure container in it to keep additional items like ammunition and stuff. So if your boss has been rape caged, it's an alternate way to get your supplies you need to carry out combat. But this item, for 9 years of the game so far, was a NPC produced item, and it's a very easy item. It's a simple item. This last patch, or the patch before last, they released a blueprint for it. Now the entire market is produced. It's all player produced now. It took about 2 months for the market to stabilize, but there was a time period in there where you could make a ton of cash off that item. So when NPC items go from NPC items to player items, there's market instability for about the first month to 2 months, and that's when it settles out. Like you, I bought a bunch of Gnosises, minimum 3 months before those start going up in price. That's a $1 billion ISK investment on both our parts that in 3-4 months, I think you're going to see the price jump because people are using them and they're losing them.
Right.
There is no more. If you look at all the pricing data for previous ships, specialty ships that came in the game, it's usually the first 3 months that the price is really low, and after that, it just starts to inch up.
And how long do you hang on to something like that? When is your indicator that it's time to sell?
I put the price I want to sell it at straight out in the market. I've got 7 ships for sale right now for 275 million ISK, and they're sitting on the market. If something happens to the market and all the ships below that get purchased in price,
then all of a sudden yours get sold.
All of a sudden mine gets sold. You never know when it's going to hit. On a specialty item like that, somebody could decide they're going to create a Gnosis blob, that they're just going to run around low sec and null sec killing everything they can. They buy up 200, 300 ships and take all these players out and just kill everything, and people will come to them for the fights because it's a specialty ship. It's a 200 million ISK kill mail right off the bat,
What
So
these I forget what I was going to say. These ships and speculating on them, and you put them on the market, and you don't know how long it's going to take for them to sell. How do you? You can only put it up for a maximum of 3 months, and so do you have to pay something to put it up?
You pay your initial fee, the broker's fees, which, by the way, there are social skills that allow, or not social skills, trade skills that allow you to lower that.
Okay.
But that's not quite that important right now. What happens is, this is a market dynamic. When you take and put an order on the market, it stays that price until you decide to modify it. Modifying a market order costs 100 ISK. Doesn't matter how many items there are. Doesn't matter, what was that?
I said, not very much.
Not very much. You get down to the last few days of that 90-day order cycle, and you raise or lower the price by 1 cent. And it resets it to a full 90 days.
Okay.
So you will see market orders change on a daily basis. I mean, I sit in hubs and play the 1ISK game, and every once in a while I get to report a market bot, because it's brutally obvious to somebody who knows the market when there's a market bot, undercutting you every other second. But you'll see the orders reset themselves automatically, which is why once I put an order on the market, I'm selling those Gnosises for the price I think somebody will eventually buy them at, and where I'm going to make a good profit.
Right.
If you don't have the ISK sitting around to sit on an order, you're dealing in something that's too big for you. Does that make sense? And that's the reason why I always recommend starting small. Yes, ammunition doesn't have a very big profit margin, but it has a profit margin. If you lose your shirt on a small order like that, you'll be like, oh well.
Right.
You lose it on the Gnosises. I mean, you're sitting on, 2 billion ISK worth of Gnosises right now.
I am.
You were in a place, for a new player, you are in a very unique place. You can go out and buy a Plex today and not have your account be depleted of cash, because everybody's donated so much cash to you. The average player has to play it much more cautiously when they're first starting out, because you're not going to be able to pay for a Plex in your first month. You'll have to buy a Plex online and just sell it or donate the game time.
That are beg your court mates.
Yeah,
I
beg
need
the court
please.
mates.
I cannot
But-
continue the war.
But the point is, when you're dealing with any item in the market, having a good understanding of the market is the first key to being able to get the price you think you can. If you deal with certain types of ammunition for a couple weeks, you get a good idea of where it's selling at a higher price and a lower price, and where to avoid. I mean, I've had orders on the market for 6-8 months before they sold, but I got the price I thought that I should get. And it's a waiting game in a lot of respects. When you're dealing with a limited production item like the Gnosis, people are killing them left and right because it's a specialty ship and it's a 200 million ISK, kill mail right off the bat. If it's fitted, it's a 200 million ISK ship, even if you're buying it for 150 mil. Market average, I think, is about 190 right now, and that's where they get the kill mail values from. So as time goes on and more ships are lost, I mean, there's a maximum of 500,000 of them in the game. How fast are people killing them is then the question. I know there's when they started with wormholes, there was an exploration ship that was released with the wormholes. When I started playing in 2009, I could get one of those ships for about 20 to 30 million ISK. And now I think they're over 100, I want to say. And it's just an exploration frigate that will never be attacked by sleepers. It's not considered a threat, which is why it's good to go in and you can use it to go see what's in a wormhole site.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Okay.
if it's...
Well, okay, so we're straying off the original thing here, which was blueprints, but I love all this information. It sounds like you've been around the block a few times. And but I have one comment. You know, Evilist Overlord, shouldn't your voice sound like this?
Probably, but you know what? People tend to leave me alone when I'm flying a freighter.
Why?
Devil's got your back. So, okay, I think we're gonna. This is the end of this episode, and I think that that was a lot of great advice. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
Okay, so those of you who are watching live, hang on, don't go anywhere. We are going to do a drawing, and then we're going to do a round table. And I'll post a link here in just a minute for as many of you that want in on the Google Hangout. You guys who are here in TeamSpeak, I'm not going to turn on the TeamSpeak for this portion. Because we're going to use the Google Hangout method. So anyway, I'll be right back and we'll do a drawing and then start the new episode.